to Friday's edition of the GSTL here in Gangnam Wolf. With me is Caldor. We have two heavy hitters today coming at you.
Yeah, we have two really amazing teams today. It's going to be quite the day. We have StarTale up against Team AZUBU. StarTale, of course, with a 2-0 record in the GSTL. Whereas AZUBU has found themselves in quite the roller coaster.
Yeah, getting all killed, getting an all kill, kind of neutralizing here. And this is their one chance to pull ahead if they can take out StarTale.
It was actually quite funny on the first day that they played. After they did really well in the preseason, suddenly AZUBU got all killed. And one of the players that didn't play that day was actually Gunzi. And he was so angry after the loss that he said, guys, I want to come out first in the second day. And he did. He all killed. And it was quite amazing to watch. So right now we have AZUBU on 1-1. Here's our starting player for today for Team AZUBU. It is Symbol.
Yep, Symbol to come out and try to take some good wins for his team. And I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's been practicing a lot for Code S, and of course for this reason. He hasn't really shown himself in the GSTL in the regular season, but now he's here, he's in the studio, he's our starting player, so no matter what, we get to see him.
You could also see Gunzi there on the shot for just a second, so the two of them really being the powerhouse. One of the players that I really want to see today too is Violet, a player that we really haven't seen in the past just yet. He has said several times that he wants to come out in the GSTL, that he wants to show his skills. Hasn't been able to do that so far, but maybe today is his chance to shine.
Yeah, you know, it's always kind of a weird feeling when you want to play, but the only way you play is if your team is doing poorly. It's kind of one of the top players on your team is always going to feel that way. Oh, I want to play, but I don't know if I can. Only if we're losing, then I can save us. You know, you have to hope for a situation that's obviously not even ideal, but you're just kind of there as a backup. You know, you're like the anchor of the team.
But on the other hand, of course, we have AZUBU now facing Team StarTale, and StarTale has been dominating the league so far. We are only in our third play day, but still, on the first day, they got an all-kill. Sound was able to take out NS Hosa without a problem at all. Quite the amazing performance. Then just went on in the qualifier for Code A to save himself a spot for the Challenger League of WCS. And then in the second team match, we suddenly have had Live step it up as the second player for his team, taking 3 wins in series, and therefore StarTale with a 2-0, starting today with a StarTale hack.
Yeah, having a great roster of players. There's so much depth on that roster, especially since the ZenX merge happened, you know, a long time ago, but I think that's really helped them grow with all the new influx of Zerg players that they got. Also having players like Avenge, for example, on their team to have that extra Protoss boost, which kind of was left a little bit after Ace stopped playing. You had Squirtle and Parting leave the team.
We'll have a quick look at the results of last week, of course, to keep you guys up to date here at the GSTL Season 1, powered by BenQ. This is, of course, the match that we had AZUBU play the last time versus NS Hosa, and all kill. So this also means that NS Hosa got all killed twice already.
Yeah, it's going to be virtually impossible for them to recover. They're in the toughest spot I think you could ever be in the GSTL. And NS Hosa, a team that's struggled historically in the past, but they've never struggled as much as they do in this season.
Team AZUBU, Violet looking like a boss. On the other hand, we have, of course, Gunzi and Symbol in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, this is a pretty kick-ass team. And here's our standings. You can see StarTale not only 2-0, with a +6 indicator, 4 spots above Axiom Acer, who will play tomorrow.
Yeah, really, really well done by Team StarTale. Axiom Acer, on the other hand, also with 2 wins and 0 losses. And at the bottom of the ranking, you have FX Open and NS Hosa, both of them struggling a little bit. Of course, with NS Hosa in a really peculiar situation now, being 0-4.
And they also have a warning, so if they tie with somebody, that warning may come into play. Let's take a look at the code and race distribution of these two teams. You can see that they're actually fairly similar when it comes to Code S distribution. A few more players in StarTale overall, so they have more players in Code A as well.
And the race distribution, of course, also really important here. Both teams have a very solid lineup with a lot of strong players, and also players for each race, which is really important here.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at total players, it's 16 versus 12, so StarTale has that extra depth. Not all of them obviously going to be at the studio today, but they have so many players they can pool from. If someone needs to stay at home at the house to practice for an upcoming individual league or a qualifier they're playing in, they don't have to show up at the studio. Someone else can easily take their place. That's something that AZUBU can't necessarily say. Symbol has been absent a few times. Obviously, he's here today. And let's take a look at StarTale's distribution of players. You can see all their beautiful faces.
Yeah, here we have them, of course. Hack, our starting player today. Golden, he was the first player the last time. Could not quite hack it. And we have Sparta, Curious. I mean, you can see them all on screen right here. Extreme has been playing really well. Avenge too. But they are lacking the Protoss players a little bit. I actually feel that the race distribution that we saw earlier lists all the Protoss players that they have, but a lot of them have been only on the team for a little bit and haven't really shown themselves in GSTL. well.
What's really unique about StarTale is they basically have 3 coaches. You've got Coach 1 who's the head coach, then you have a coach that's below him that's more of the player coach, and then there's also the ZenX coach who merged in as well. So they have 3 coaches. That's a lot of wisdom and ideas that go in there.
Don't smile. Keep it serious. Team AZUBU, on the other hand, here we have them. We have, of course, Wine, Symbol, players like Sleep, Genius, Sun. Quite the Protoss lineup there for them.
Yeah, really heavy Protoss lineup indeed. And a lot of good players like Symbol, who's a starting player. You have Violet. Then you have players that have done well in the past, like Supernova and Top. Supernova being a little bit more successful than Top overall, but Top did have a GSL Finals.
Very strong players, of course, also for Zerg with Symbol, Boom Boom, and Violet. And with the Terrans, Ganzi already all killing this season. So a really strong lineup here.
Yep. There's shots of the team. Son looking at the ceiling, I don't know why. He's looking at somebody coming down the stairs, maybe.
Symbol, our starting player today. We have once again a Terran versus Zerg.
Yeah, that's quite the common starting players that we've seen so far in this league.
The matchup has been... I actually love the matchup right now. I loved it in Rings of Liberty and also in Heart of the Swamp right now. It's really intense. It's nice to watch. There are so many exciting things going on with the speed boost for the Medivac, with all the Widow Mines that we have right now. A good shot can change a game in an instant.
Yeah, Vipers, Swarm Host coming out sometimes.
Oh my god, Blinding Cloud against Mag is just so beautiful to watch if you have a Zerg player who knows how to use them.
You see that Maru series?
Yeah, definitely. The Maru series was insane. I loved it.
The players getting ready to walk down that Hall of Fame. Only one team, though, of course, this entire league will get their picture on the wall for the season.
Coach for StarTale looks a little bit tense today, and of course the AZUBU coach being his usual self.
Always smiling. I don't think you could, there's no way you can make him frown.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Day has been started. We have StarTale up against AZUBU at today's GSTL match, the 3rd play day. Let's see who can take the points.
This is much more important for AZUBU overall, but if StarTale wants to get their 1st place ranking, this is a much more important match for them if you think about it that way. If they lose here, they're in a better position than if AZUBU loses, but they want to keep their 1st place spot. They've got the best indicator. They're way up there on the front, and why not continue that?
The one thing that StarTale, of course, struggles a little bit with is that their Protoss lineup is a little bit predictable. They lost Parting, they lost Squirtle. Right now they have to rely on players like Avenge and Extreme. Good players, but at the same time, not the heavy hitters that they used to have on the roster.
And we saw them play in the past already. Avenge notably playing very recently, and he did well, but he just doesn't have that flair that those old Protoss players had. Not even the flair that Ace had, really.
Yep. Ace, on the other hand, he is more of a player coach now than he is an actual player. Every single time we ask him if he wants to play, he says like, well, maybe not this time. Did also not participate in the qualifier, if I'm not mistaken. At least I didn't see him at Code.
I think you're correct.
We were pretty busy casting, so he might have snuck in and lost in one of the earlier rounds, but I kind of doubt it. I think I would have spotted him.
Yeah, and for me, based on what he's told us in the past, I just don't think he would want to participate. He's more just, like you said, focused entirely on being a player coach right now, just trying to help his team in that way, and he's got a lot of experience, so he'd make a good player coach for sure.
You know, we mentioned Avenge earlier as a Protoss player for the StarTale lineup, and he certainly was able to take out Marine King the last time that he played. So if it comes down to snipers, having a Protoss sniper there to take out a player, there are really strong players on the StarTale bench, but still, you want to have those all-around players that are good in every matchup. They can be sent out when, well, let's be honest, when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, when shit hits the fan, man, that's when you got to send out those players.
And they don't have them right now.
Yeah, exactly.
At least not the Protoss players.
You always want to have, if you can, one heavy-hitting player from each race to come out if they need to be to play a certain matchup. That's where, in Asosa, for example, struggles. They basically only have one heavy-hitting player for Terran. They don't have a heavy-hitting Pross, they don't have a heavy-hitting Zerg. They've only got Jokchi to rely on, and sometimes that works out, and more often than not, it doesn't.
Exactly. Within Asosa, when it comes to the Zerg lineup, they have Sanai right now, who showed a lot of promise already, but we still don't know how good he really is. He has shown us good games, but he's lacking in result department a little bit. Against Sound, an amazing series. He lost in the end. But on the other hand, if you talk about the Zergs and the Terrans that we have on the StarTale lineup, there are so many good players. I mean, Sound with the all-kill, we mentioned it earlier, but of course, they have life.
They have life, they have Curious, they have, I mean, so many good players. The starting player, Hack.
Bomber, for example.
Bomber's there.
Not in the studio today, at least I haven't seen him just yet, so he might not come out today, but they have a really strong lineup that they can rely on. AZUBU, on the other hand, we were a little bit surprised when they were all killed on the first playday. They have a really well-rounded lineup, and I feel that they can give StarTale quite a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you know, we haven't seen their lineup develop too much because they were all killed, and then they got an all kill. So we haven't seen them in a situation where it's like 3-3, and they have to make that tough decision of who comes out in 7th. We haven't seen that type of play. It's either be killed or kill for them, and there's no in-between so far. So hopefully today we get to see a little bit more of that depth.
Yeah. StarTale, on the other hand, the last time he came out, he also was defeated. He was not able to take a win for his team. That was on the first playday. Now on the third, he's the starting player for his team. He's a very strong opponent to face, which he has proven in Code S already. So I feel that this is going to be really interesting. And I feel one of the main reasons why we actually have him today here, even though he is still in Code S, is that the groups have not been released. So there's nothing where his opponents can take an advantage of him playing today. So that makes perfect sense to send him out as a starting player.
Exactly. Only until the groups are released will somebody go back and say these VODs, for example, but it gives them less time. And I like the choice to send him out early because he's someone that you can study, but his style is very variable. It's hard for Hack to look at him and say, oh, I know exactly what you're going to do, and say, you look very predictable. That's not the type of player that Symbol is, whereas if they send somebody else out who's a little bit more predictable, for example, like Genius, then it might be a little bit easier to predict for his Stargate play.
And think about the strategy insofar that the first playday when Symbol had to prepare for Code S, he wasn't even at the studio. He was still at the team house, was playing his matches, and was just getting ready. So that's something that we have to keep in mind here as well. So Symbol sometimes... sorry, that was actually the second playday that I'm talking about. He was playing on the first day and lost his match. But this just shows that AZUBU really tries to get their players the freedom to prepare for the individual leagues and at the same time use them as soon as the opportunity arises in the team league to get a few early wins maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Violet quite extensively about their coach and their practice environment, and he says it's very relaxed, but also there's a lot of positive peer pressure going on in the house. You know, like everybody's trying to push each other to do better, and that's the type of house environment that a lot of people are saying AZUBU has the best of.
Exactly, that's exactly what you want. You don't want to have like this tyrant coach, this Tato always tells you, okay, you have to play, you have to play, you have to play. They actually want to. They are spending a lot of time, a lot of free time that they actually have to practice because they just don't want to, they don't want to lose the connect to the rest of the team, and everyone is practicing, so there's a lot of pressure on them, but it's like a positive pressure. It's not like this external influence that you have there.
Exactly. It's just a very... it's a feeling of not the coaches pressuring into everyone around you, so trying to get better. A lot of these players are from failed teams, and they have a new start here. And this is a very much more important match for AZUBU than it is for StarTale. They need a win here.
And here, of course, we have the Terran player for Team StarTale. We have Hack, who is currently in Code A. He won his tournament bracket in the Code A qualifier.
Yep. He was able to do it, and this guy has been around for a long time. Struggles in Code S whenever he's there, but he's always around in Code A, bounces back. You can see his win rate, though, is over 50% in GSTL, meaning he's a pretty key player.
Yeah. Traditionally, he is very strong against Protoss in particular, but he's also a very good player against Zerg. The one thing that he struggled with the last season was that he was a little bit too timid in the matchup. Reason being, he stated in an interview that for him it's really difficult because he practices with live all the time, and that made him afraid to move out and to commit to attacks. That was a few months ago, but still this might something that might play an effect today. On the other hand, if you play against Zergs like Life and Curious, you can prepare perfectly for such a strong opponent as AZUBU Symbol.
Look at his win ratio. Oh my god, 75%, 15 wins and 5 losses. He wins 3 times more often than he loses when he comes out in GSTL. Yeah. He is one of the most successful players that Team League has ever seen.
Keep in mind that this is, of course, a statistic that also includes Wings of Liberty.
Yes.
Heart of the Swarm is a completely different ball game, but still it's a very strong indicator of how good this guy actually is.
With his reverse all kills and his last-minute saves for TSL, you can see his best position is actually last at 7-1. He was able to reverse all kill LGIM in a very historic moment in Wings of Liberty. A lot of people remember him for that, and he's the guy you normally call on last, but today they're calling on him first.
Yep. We actually have been talking in the past a lot about the series against LGIM. If you haven't watched it, we can once again just emphasize and encourage you to go to GOMTV.net and look up that series. It was played in 2012. Still one of the most memorable team matches that we've ever seen in the Team League.
Don't forget, Symbol is coming off of being a Code S finalist. He did not win against Roro, but he was in the finals. It was a pretty good series. This guy is not somebody to be trifled with, and this is going to be a tough match for Hack, I feel. He's going to be the underdog in this particular best of one.
Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting game, though, especially since the map is a kill on waste, the map where we've seen a lot of split map plays in Terran versus Zerg. In a lot of matchups, actually. I really like to watch the games on this map. It always feels like there is so much potential for a lot of aggression, and then also later on in the game just to have these very macro-oriented maps.
Yep. Well, the game is started. The map is Akalon Waste, game number 1 on this map. Starting it up right here at the GSTL, StarTale versus AZUBU. Casted as always by Calder and Mole.
Starting to the top left, we have the starting player for Team StarTale. The Terran player in red calls himself after nuclear missile.
StarTale Hack.
StarTale Hack, can he provide the first win for his team today? Will his opponent be victorious in game number 1? Starting to the bottom right, in blue, we have for Team AZUBU.
AZUBU Symbol.
Symbol, usually the last man standing for his team, but starts things out today.
One of the things that is quite interesting to note here is that in the GSTL so far, on this map in particular, we had quite a few Zerg versus Terrans, and Terran won every single time. So that's something that is definitely noteworthy. It seems right now to be a map where Terran players are quite confident in winning. But on the other hand, life gives you wings.
Well, he'll come out probably a little bit later.
I only saw him take away wings from people like Flash and other players, but still.
Didn't make them feel like they were playing Wings Delivery, that's for sure. But
Yeah,
you're right about this map. You know, it seems like in the late game drop play is so difficult to do. It's hard to hold your external hatcheries that are around the edges of the map because your creep's not over there. Once a Terran clears up the creep in the middle of the map and keeps dropping, if your mutas are dead, it becomes very difficult to keep control over the map, whereas a Terran player can set up bunkers and widow mines to defend their bases against run-bys.
Yeah, this is in general one of the problems that Zerg has been struggling with a little bit, and there have been... The thing is, for Zerg right now, it's this choice. Do I go for Mutalisk composition or do I try something different? The problem, if you don't go for Mutalisk, is you really struggle with the drop layer of your opponent. And this is one of the main reasons why a lot of the Zergs go still into Mutalisk play. But a lot of them have now starting to just experiment a little bit with different unit compositions, trying to find a way to actually deal with the Mutalisks. And for example, what we see some players do is just having like small forces that run between the bases, trying to intercept drop ships whenever possible. You can do this with Hydralisks, for example. You can just crawl up in your main base a little bit more and also at the natural in the third. So there are different paths that Zerg go down these days to make it a little bit more difficult for Terran players to execute their traditional style.
Exactly. It's really interesting to see that we're seeing a really quick CC without any Reaper pressure. We've been seeing most players go for the early Reaper Scout in this matchup. Not all, but most players are favoring that.
The thing about the Reaper Scout is if you have the Reaper Scout, actually, you will know exactly what's going on, at least in the early stages of the game. We have now the double gas going down for Hack, which is really quite interesting. This is a little bit what we've seen in Wings of Liberty for a long time. Just starting with an early CC, going straight into the double refinery. But on the other hand, we also have a really early gas here for Symbol, who goes straight into speed.
Yep, and he's still got one mining worker in there, and the SCV goes down, so he doesn't know any longer now whether the gas is going to continue to be mined. So far, it's still just one inside.
Well, right now what we see for Symbol is, of course, also the expansion that he's currently building. That is actually a really nice shot that we have. That is pretty cool. So you can really see the overlord pattern on this enhanced large minimap a little bit better. How you try to position your overlords on a map like a kill on flats. You have to make sure that you have an overlord over at the potential fourth base for the Terran player. You want to have the option of going into the main base and at the same time trying to get one of the overlords into position at the third so that you always know what exactly is going on. It's really crucial that you make sure that the Terran player don't intercept these overlords, because one of the most horrible things for a Zerg player to happen early on is losing an overlord.
Yeah, it really messes up your entire build, it messes up your vision. The only thing you can hope to get out of it is maybe killing whatever killed your overlord, but usually not a good trade. So you can see the minimap here just being enlarged once more. Roach Warren is started, and we could very well see very aggressive attack coming out.
Actually, this looks like Roach, like a Roach Baneling. Yeah. That's what we currently see. With a third base behind it. No, he goes into additional drones now. I think he just decided that he doesn't want to go for it. Usually what you do when you go for roach baling aggression is that you start at roughly 36 harvesters. That's the amount of harvesters that you rely on, but now with the additional ones coming out, it doesn't look like it. This is more of a roach attack without the balingness.
He just wants to trade for as many SCVs as he can with his roaches. Hope that doesn't get scouted until late.
You can really see that he's getting a lot of overlords right now. He wants to have the free supply so that he can build those units. He's going into the roaches, as you can see right now, but he doesn't really have the gas to really completely commit to them. So it looks like it's not going to be for aggression at all. He will just rely on a few and try to defend. With 6, he can still poke a little bit on the map, but he won't be able to do a lot of damage. He won't commit to this.
The Hellions are going to see this right away. They're positioned, the 4 of them now together in the middle of the map. So when the roaches move out, he'll see this. He'll have enough time to react, and it's just going to be whatever. Oh, yeah, he almost got that drone. If he could delay it that third, that would be so good. Actually, it's already started. My bad. I'm like, look at this. We actually have like a completely new UI, and we have our observing computer now. I've been toying around with it, trying to figure out how everything works on this map, and it's very new and very different.
Yeah, for both of us, getting a little bit adjusted to the new interface. We now have an observing computer, but it's not the old setup anymore. One thing that I want to touch upon right now, while we have this break, one of the players needed a pause. We have now the roaches shown. So Hack at this point, we have him on screen here, he saw a few roaches, but he doesn't really know how many there are. So what he did immediately upon seeing the roaches, he started the first Marauders. So he's a little bit anxious that there is a good, huge timing attack coming out of his opponent. There are a lot of timing attacks that you can execute with roaches as a Zerg player. There are 2 base timings and also a 3 base timing that includes getting the 3rd base at the same time. That's not what we see from Symbol. Symbol just relies on 6 roaches right now, trying to move out a little bit. Make sure that those Hellions cannot push the creep back, but this is something that Hack doesn't know, so he wants to be super safe. He's going into double Widowmine right now, and he has the Marauder coming out. If there was a huge road commitment, he would be ready.
Exactly. He's very meticulously continuing to scout with his Hellions right now. He's going to where the Watchtower would be, and unfortunately for him, there's no Watchtower there, and also the Overlord's there to give vision, so he can't pick off any shots with the Hellions. And it looks like Symbol's actually just going to keep the roaches here for Hellion defense. He's not even going to use them. This is so smart because he knows he's been scouted. Uh-oh, though. Those Hellions could pick off those 3 drones.
Yeah, could pick off the drones, and they do, but the roaches are already on their way. The problem is there's no creep spread between the 2nd and the 3rd, so he needs to have a little bit more time. But nice intercepting those Hellions, trying to take all of them out, but a lot of the drones are down.
Oh, wow. Just a stack up there being a little bit too overconfident. In total there,
12 workers killed. This is definitely more than he wanted. This is a little bit of a problem. The original idea of Symbol was to have 6 roaches ready to deal with the Hellions, but now suddenly they snuck past, and at this point it still looked fine. With a decent drone split, he could have avoided the worst, but now he lost 12 of them, and that's definitely a bad start for him.
Yeah, really, really bad. Very uncomfortable. He started 12 drones afterwards, which he can re-drone quickly, but that's larva he's wasted, that's minerals he's wasted, he wants to use for other things right now.
I really like the transition for Symbol, though. This is something that is very smart. You know, so many times when you try to rely on Ling and Baneling as well as Mutalisks later on, you are a little bit vulnerable, especially to a commitment to Hellions. So what Symbol does is he starts with the Roach Warren and he builds the first 6 roaches just to have something against the Hellions to just suggest to his opponent, I might actually attack you, so do something and build a few defensive units. And then he transitions into double upgrades, following Mira Baneling.
Yeah.
Really smart.
The upgrades he has are very significantly ahead with the build that we see Hack choosing. He picks off the Silverboard very smartly with his Medivacs. He's going to hit this push, but with the Baneling Nest being there and all these Lings coming out, he's going to have just enough to defend relatively easily. As soon as he gets those Lings out, he can start the Banelings. He needs to do it now, though.
Yeah, here comes the Spire as expected, going into Mutaling Baneling. The Roach is still looking strong. He wants to buy some time. The 1-1 is not done yet.
Yeah, this is just a great push out here by Hack. He knows he can lift up and get away at any time. He wants to be able to force out the Lings.
That's a lot of damage done.
Yeah, this is not actually ready yet.
Here come the Zerglings, finally moving in. +1/+1 is ready, but there are 2 Medivacs just healing the entire Bioforce. That's too much, though, for Hack to handle at this point.
Nice pickup. I cannot believe he was able to set both of those Widow Mines. He gets them away. He just knows comfortably until the Muse are out, he can continue to do pokes like this, force his opponent to make units instead of drones, and that's exactly what's happening. 32 Lings on the way. He's going to also use those probably to pressure the 3rd base. +2/+2 also being started, and the Hack is definitely in a bit of a peculiar spot. He cannot safely take a 3rd at this point. He has the 3rd, but that might be the first thing that his opponent attacks. So a very awkward spot for Hack to be in right now, even though he spotted the Spire, which is of course the most important information for the Tenor player. Yeah, he needs to know that, of course, so he can prepare accordingly. He has the ability to make turrets. He could just use Widow Mines for defense. He said, uh-oh, this could be devastating. He sends the Lings over, and he does. Oh, Oh, that could have been a little bit better, but he still has one more, don't forget.
Yeah, the second Widow Mine didn't trigger yet. Here we go. And he takes, he actually saves both Widow Mines.
Yeah, really nice. Nice. Continue to keep 2 Widow Mines with his army at all times so that he can avoid these Lynx rounds and then pick up. But once the Muse are out, which 10 of them are on the way, this is going to stop.
Talking about the Mutalisk, could you double check that he really saw the Spire? Because he didn't build any missile turrets at all.
I'm a little bit surprised he didn't make those. Yeah, he saw it for sure. So that's a little bit weird. I guess he just is confident with his Widow Mines and his pressure right now for a little bit longer. He does have bunkers up at his bases, but you know that's not always enough.
Yeah, what you usually want is at least 1 or 2 missile turrets in addition to the Widow Mines that you have in your main base. And one of the main problems that you have with Widow Mines in the main is, of course, that they need supply. So that's something you don't really want to have. But he didn't build anything just yet. On the other hand, the Mutalisks are now out. 30 additional Zerglings are being built. This is quite the army that Symbol is now just manning up. And he already has +2/+2 nearly completed. It's going to take a little bit longer, but if he can buy that time, he's moving in, though.
He surrounds the entire army and forces a lift. A few more units on the ground. A decent Widow Mine hit, but he has to get out of here.
The Widow Mines are going strong, but only hitting a couple of the Zerglings. There are so many of them. They're being taken out.
And this is such a great timing for Symbol. 2-2 is lining up with his Baneling speed. He can actually continue the attack after this. Hack is on the run.
Hack is on the retreat right now, trying to do the best to save his army, but this is a little bit weird for him. He has a lot of medivacs now.
Yeah, and his Widow Mine count is getting higher as well.
9 medivacs in total and heavily relying upon the Widow Mines, as Wolf already stated. The problem for him really is that the upgrades are not keeping up with the Zerg player at all. +2/+2 is now done, and it's going to take quite some time for Hack to complete his own second set of upgrades.
Yeah, and the counterattack is on. There is a nice wall here. But the scary thing is Hack lost a lot of his reinforcements on the map. We may have a big engagement here. Baneling speed is done. The Muse come from behind.
He can't really escape. He's going to lose all those medivacs if he doesn't pay attention.
Oh, wow. Really nicely done here with the pickup. He kind of jukes him out there, avoids the ground armor, but he lost so much already. And Symbol is chasing down the medivacs. He will get several of them. He needs to burrow those Widow Mines.
And he's burrowing them, but the Widow Mine is already down. He cannot take down more of the medivacs, but he already killed one with all those units, and now he's running into the main base.
The wall is down, and Banelings are running through. I think Hack may lose here. He's down 30 supply.
He's down 30 supply, and he's losing more as we speak. So many medivacs that can't participate in the fight. +2/+2 is not done just yet.
Yeah, the 2-2 for Symbol really showing here. He's taking out medevac after medevac, and I think this may be a game there's too much to deal with here. The Banelings all the SCVs.
Beautiful connected, taking out all those SCVs, and now suddenly the entire map is completely dominated by the Zerg player, streaming units to the top left and camping the production of Hack.
This looks like it's pretty much over. He's got a lot of Marines queued up at the barracks, but I just don't see him being able to produce enough to hold. He's got a few Widow Mines coming out, but he has to be careful.
He doesn't really have the anti-air. He's building so many Marines, but as soon as the Marines are out of the barracks, they're being taken out by the Mutalisks, and there is GG. Symbol takes game number 1, takes the win for Team AZUBU. Well played here by the Zerg player. Hack just could not deal with it. The engagements of Symbol were just really, really well taken.
Yeah, really well done. And I have to say, the way he executed that flank in the middle of the map and caught the reinforcements, and then was able to sandwich with the Muse at the right spot to catch the medevacs, was too much for Hack to deal with.
Also how he did not attack the medevacs when they were in speed boost mode, because he just flew past them and was waiting for his chance to take down one of them, and he actually killed the one with all the units. So that was really well executed by him, and as you already said, his movements across the map were so well done. He trapped the entire force of the Terran plane in the middle of the map, and Hack had a huge problem moving back and trying to save these.
Yeah, the patience and the positioning for Symbol was just incredible. And now, AZUBU takes a lead against StarTale. StarTale is going to have to bring out a second player. And I'm wondering who we're going to see. I don't think we'll see a Protoss, not against somebody like Symbol, because he's like a Jaggi, he's like an ST, he's like an MVP, he's like the end game guy you're supposed to see, so they can't send out somebody who's kind of medium level. They have to send out a big gun here. Maybe even a ZVZ with Curious, for example. I don't think we'll see Life, though.
No, I don't think that we are going to see Live just yet. I could see another Terran player. I could actually see Sound coming out next. Bomber apparently not being in studio. At least we haven't seen him earlier. So at this point, I mean, you're completely right. Usually you want to send out as a second player someone who maybe has not that much experience. Give someone a chance here. On the other hand, when you're up against Symbol, you can't give Symbol the opportunity to take momentum.
Yeah, you can't give him too many kills here because he's just the first player. And yes, he is tough, but he's going to eat people for breakfast. That's what he wants. He wants to eat these medium-level players for breakfast. So he's trying to bait out one of the stronger players so that AZUBU can then snipe them if it need be. And I just don't know who that's going to be. I don't think we see somebody like a Banjai. I don't think we're seeing a Protoss.
I would be surprised by a Protoss player.
Bomber would be like a good choice, but he's not here. And it starts to seem like more and more things point to Sound. He's got a great Terran versus Zerg.
We have a lot of Zergs, but if you don't want to avoid the ZVZ, it has to be... Oh, Bomber is in the studio. Apparently he snuck past us last time, but here he is. And he's going to be the next player. Yeah, with him being here, that of course makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense,
I mean, we talked about it just now. We actually didn't see him earlier, so he must have arrived a little bit late.
Yep. Better late than never. And StarTale's calling upon him right away.
So it is a Terran player. They are not trying to decide this with a ZVZ. We have a Code S player, GSL ranking 9. Bomber, he dominated in his Code S group. He's now in the round of 16. And he is in such good shape in Heart of the Swarm right now.
He comes out so often in GSTL as well. You can see historically in Wings of Liberty, he's come out 31 times. That's a lot. He basically comes out every single match if he's needed. And he's come through for his team more often than not.
Before we go into our next game, into the next CVT of the day, we are of course having a 5-minute break, and as soon as we are back, we will start with the second match at the GSTL between AZUBU and StarTale. Stay tuned, guys. We'll see you in a few.